Good morning, John. Can you please introduce yourself and tell us how long you've lived in Putnam?
Yes, of course. I'm John David Ryan, and I have been in and out of Putnam my whole life. My mother's family was from here, and I was born on March 13th, 1962 in New Britain, Connecticut, because my father had a job there that year. And I moved here permanently when my father died. I moved here in February of 1982. I live at 190 Grove Street with my wife Maureen.
John, you weren't around during the flood.
I was not.
Can you share some memories that you have of your dad?
Well, my father was Captain Arthur John Ryan of the Connecticut Army National Guard. He was known by John to his friends, but Captain Ryan was the commanding officer of a D Company, 169th Infantry, Connecticut Army National Guard. He was the first commanding officer of the former Putnam Armory on Keach Street, and that was built in 1955. And he took command of the facility shortly thereafter. The flood hit, as we all know, in August and into September of 1955, and he was the commanding officer of the National Guard detachment here in Putnam during that time. And he had many stories. Now, he died on the 18th of April 1982 in Massachusetts, so he's been dead for quite a long time, but he did tell us a great many stories about what he had done and he and his men had done during the flood. So most notably, I think the thing that we want to correct the historical record, because many people were running around saying, oh, there was martial law, there was martial law. Well, no, there wasn't actually. They ran the flood, the civil government ran the flood. John Dempsey, of course, was mayor at the time, and every morning they had a meeting, the mayor and various town officials and the National Guard commander, and every morning he ran the flood. And by the way, he mentioned to me repeatedly that Jack Dempsey always went home at 5 o'clock. Nobody else did, but Jack Dempsey went home at 5 o'clock. So, every day. So this went on for quite some time, and there was no martial law. Everything ran, okay? I mean, it didn't necessarily run well, but it ran. One of the biggest things that sticks in my mind, he and his mortar sergeant, Louis Benoit, who many people may remember, had gone up a set of stairs in a building at Manhasset Village trying to get the old French Canadians out because they didn't want to move. They didn't want to go. They were too frightened to go, and they didn't want to leave their homes, and you know, this was their apartments that they had lived in and all of that. And they went up the stairs, and Louis was able to get them out because he spoke the language. Now, my father did too. He had all the high school and college French that he had learned, but Louis spoke the patois, you know, so they were able to get everybody out, you know, of these buildings. But it was a tough trick, and he was very grateful for the fact that amazingly nobody died. There was no fatalities around here. There were in other parts of Connecticut, but not here. But it was quite a time, and again, I was not around at that point. I was not even a gleam in my father's eye at that time, but he, of course, was here. So there we are.
Is there anything else, John, that you remember him talking about, or after the flood was over, some of the changes that he saw?
Well, I think one of the other things that needs to be said is that the National Guard provided security, among other things, and he didn't want to shoot anybody. He really didn't want to shoot anybody. Okay? But they put the word out. They put the word out that they would shoot any looters. They put the word out that they would. Now, he wasn't going to. In fact, he told his guys not to. But they put the word out that they would. I don't know whether that would work today, but it worked at the time. All right? And of course they did all have rifles and sidearms. You know, the officers had sidearms and the enlisted men had rifles, but you know, but they put the word out that they would shoot all the looters, even though they had absolutely no intention of doing so, you know.
Right.
So, and it worked. It worked. I mean, it was a bluff, and it worked, and they were able to do that. And as often been said, Bridge Street was still usable, but one of the things is it was only usable for emergency vehicles.
Okay.
You could put an emergency vehicle across there, and for some reason, I don't know why this sticks in my mind, but they got into a great big argument with people from the post office. And they found out that, guess what, a postal truck is considered an emergency vehicle, or at least it was then.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so as long as they went over one at a time, the mail trucks could go over. Okay, the old man didn't want to let them over originally, and they said, no, they're considered emergency vehicles, you gotta let them go by. So, but that's true, but of course all the other bridges had been washed out and all that sort of thing. And as far as changes, well, as everyone knows, more than half the town was wiped out. I mean, that was one of the reasons that Edward R. Murrow came here and did a documentary about it.
I didn't realize
he
that.
He did. In fact, I have a copy of the radio documentary that he did.
Oh, wow.
I will dig it out of my attic and I will get it for you.
Thank you.
Because my grandfather, my mother's father, was a recording engineer.
Okay.
Okay, so I have that. And so, but Edward R. Murrow came here and did a documentary called The Terrible Rain. And it was all about the 3 hurricanes that came in here and destroyed more than half of the town. Now, my mother's family, the Mullett family, M-U-L-L-E-T-T, same house that we're in now at 190 Grove Street, we had no problems at all. No damage of any kind. We're up in Putnam Heights, up by Grove Street Cemetery. So no damage of any kind. Everything was fine. But of course, we all remember well, I don't remember, of course, but anyone who was there remembers the magnesium in the plant going up and all of that, you know, the minute the water touched it. So that was a big problem too. That was an enormous problem that my old man had mentioned as well. But I think more than anything, I just want to clear up the record and make sure, number one, we weren't going to shoot any looters, even though we told everybody we were.
Right.
Okay, and there was no martial law. Everything ran, you know. I mean, yes, whatever could be opened was opened.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, whatever business could be done was done. Yes, we did have armed National Guard guys patrolling the streets, but it wasn't martial law. The mayor was running the town every day, even though he went home every day at 5 o'clock. Okay, you know, Jack Dempsey ran the flood from 9 to 5, the old man said. Yep, Jack ran the flood 9 to 5.
I love it.
Yep, there you go. So that was that. In fact, Mrs. Dempsey, as you know, just died recently,
yes.
last fall. And it was funny, she was a month younger than my father. My father was born on the 15th of October, 1918, and he was from Webster. And so he was born at Hubbard Hospital. She was born in November, and I used to see her once in a while, you know, because she was one of the widows that I take care of for the Knights of Columbus here in Putnam. And she was pretty much the last person who remembered my father personally in any meaningful way.
Right.
You know, I think right now, and we're here on the 5th of June, 2025, here at the town hall, Roger Daigle would be the last one there who actually was one of those National Guard guys. Roger is one of the, I believe he's the last one. He was a teenager in my father's outfit.
Oh, wow, okay.
During the flood. He joined, his first military service was with the Connecticut Army National Guard. But he was a teenager and he did serve, so I believe he's the last one left. Everyone else is gone. You know, Sergeant Benoit, Sergeant Beaudry, you know, all of those, you know, they're all,
right.
You know, they're all World War II guys.
Right.
You know.
But that's why we wanted to do this year, because our memories are of children, but we're all in our 70s and 80s,
Yeah.
so we felt it was important to put this on
Yeah.
record the last time.
And I'm 63. My father had me when he was an older fellow, and unfortunately he died many years ago. He's been gone quite a long time. Yeah, it was quite an experience, and it's one of those things. And of course, with my grandparents, my Mr. and Mrs. Mullet, you know, and then my mother, of course, Jacqueline Mullet, and my father, you know.
Right.
It was one of those things where it divided people's lives. You know, yeah, gee, that was 3 years after the flood, wasn't it? Or, oh yeah, that was before the flood. You know, or oh yeah, gee, that was 10 years after the flood, I think. You know, everything in their lives. I obviously grew up with them and lived with them.
Right.
And every meaningful thing in their lives was, oh yeah, that was 5 years after the flood, wasn't it? That's the benchmark that they measured their lives with.
Yeah.
From now on, everything was either before or after.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Everything.
Exactly.
Everything was before or after. You know.
Yeah.
And so that and I saw that all the time. But no, but I remember, you know, he and Louis Benoit going through and clearing out the buildings, because nobody wanted to go and they were all terrified, you know, but Louis was the one who talked them out. Okay, my father didn't.
Yeah.
My father did speak French, but he spoke high school French.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Parisian French.
He spoke, yeah, he didn't speak the patois Quebecois him, you know?
Right.
Downside by each him.
Yes.
Yeah, he didn't speak, no, he didn't do that. Although he did tell me that did come in handy when he was in France during World War II.
Oh, I bet.
It did,
I bet.
actually,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
It did come in handy when he was out fighting the Wehrmacht, you know, in France during World War II. Okay. So that's that. The 169th Infantry, of course, doesn't exist anymore. The Defense Department did away with it some years ago. You know, and yeah. So, and I'm very glad my father was dead by then.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
Yes, I was very hairy, because, you know, he made a point of saying that they had battle ribbons all the way back to the Revolutionary War. You know, so I was, you know, I was very glad to see that he didn't see that. So,
Right.
But that's it. I don't really have much else to tell you. Nothing of any historical importance, anyway.
But thank you very much for sharing, John, because these are memories that we don't have anywhere. So thank you very much for doing this.
Very good. Very good. Thank you.